So somebody made this post, okay? And look, my thing is, I get that you cannot like Berserk, okay? Berserk is an incredibly difficult series to read through if you're a sensitive little baby, okay? Berserk is blood, it's guts, it's gore, it's nasty, it's a world that never lets you have anything. Everything there is horrific. It's awful. It always ends bad. Everything wants to see you die and to suffer and to do it in the most painful fucking way possible. And in that world exists Guts. And Guts fights through it. Guts fights against it. Guts struggles against fate because fate has determined that Guts is meant to die a terrible and horrific and painful death as fuel for fucking demons. This is not something where I would recommend for everyone to read, all right, because it's an incredibly mature story. The story begins, okay, not at the start of Guts's life, all right? You get to see how Guts is as an adult, all right, after these terrible things have happened to him. And there's some very interesting cues that Guts has been the victim of something. For instance, when somebody tries to touch him, he like immediately knocks him away and screams for them not to touch him. Okay, it's not normal behavior, and it's certainly not like tough guy behavior, right? To behave like that if somebody puts their hand on you, even gently, right? It's just it's clear that something has happened to him right from the fucking beginning. He's jaded, he's cold, but there is a small part of him that you can see is a good person. Everything around him though is just awful, and it wants you to suffer and it wants you to die. When we finally learn more about Guts's backstory, we find out that as a child, his sort of adopted father, the man that he admired and looked up to as a father figure, had basically accepted like a small chain, like a small little bit of gold, for to let another man literally fucking rape him. That's how terrible life is for Guts, even from the fucking beginning. Guts grows up. He's a very skilled warrior. He's become greater. He's become like one of the greatest fighting forces, and he just bounces around from war to war because that's what his life is. He eventually meets Griffith. Griffith changes him. He joins the Band of the Hawk. And as great as all of that is, Griffith isn't enough for Guts. Guts wants something more, and he leaves the Band of the Hawk. And then when he's gone, Griffith collapses without Guts, and he does something very stupid. He sleeps with the princess. The king finds out and tortures Griffith for over a year. Cuts him apart, chops him up. He's incredibly weakened and shriveled when Guts and everybody finally do rescue him again. And the very first thing he does is actually try to wrap his hands around Guts's throat and choke him out for what he did by leaving him. And his hands just don't have the physical strength to do that anymore. So Guts and everybody, they save Griffith. But when they save Griffith, something happens. There's a special kind of thing that they've had for a while because they've already encountered some monsters, but nothing as bad as what they're about to experience. And this little golden egg shaped thing, basically, I think it takes like a little bit of his blood. I forget what the actual like activation in that moment was, but Griffith basically offers up all of his friends, everybody who he's led, everybody that believes in him, everyone who's supported him, and he offers them up as tribute so that he can become this new god, this new evil dark demon god thing. And that's exactly what happens. They all die. They all get massacred. It's horrific. It's bloody. It's nasty. Guts is there, and Guts is trying to fight. Guts is trying to fight, but it's overwhelming. And at one point he gets pinned down, and fucking Griffith rapes Casca in front of him, and we find out later that she was actually pregnant with Guts's child when he did this, and yeah, it's a much later plot point, so I spoiled things, but you know, he does this in front of Guts, and Guts tears off his own arm trying to escape and save Casca. The demons rip out his arm, they tear out off his eye, and somebody else comes in and is able to save Griffith and Casca from that moment. But Casca's completely fucking broken, and Guts and her bear the brand of sacrifice, so they'll forever be hunted. There's one area in the world that's safe for Casca and Guts, but Guts can't just he can't just like he can't just like stay with her. He wants to find some way of freeing them from the brand of sacrifice, of freeing Casca, of saving her. He doesn't know how, and he chooses to leave her alone and just go off on his own because that's what he knows to do best. Like he knows to go be a fighter, go be a warrior. And he continues to just see things get so much worse everywhere around him. Everywhere he goes, there are monsters, there are demons, there's evil things. Even in his sleep, they attack him in his dreams. And Guts still keeps fighting. He still keeps pushing. He still keeps struggling against fate, even though it's determined that he should die. He should die the most horrific and painful way possible. And even throughout all of it, there's still some glimmer of the good man inside of Guts, the man that wants to be with Casca, the man that wants to protect her, the man that wants to actually have friends. That's Guts is that guy, but you know everything around him is just awful. Everything around him is just it's terrible and it's bad, and nothing ever seems like it's ever going to work out. But Guts continues to fight. That's the story of Berserk. I mean that's a very brief story of Berserk. And it don't get me wrong, it's bloody, it's fucked up, but that's why I like the story of Berserk. So when I see someone who's just like, oh, let me make a big public announcement about how if you like this, you can't even be a mutual mind. Like, first off, I don't see why that's such a big deal for people. I really don't. It's just the type of comments that I see where this person's saying things like, it's my personal choice. I don't care how or what lessons it has. It has that type of content unnecessarily stuffed in for the sake of fan service. I've never heard a more idiotic argument, right? Because, like, yeah, I mean, a lot of us sometimes feel like the entire world is against us and it's trying to crush us, and we have to keep fucking fighting through it. And imagine being somebody who's been the victim of any type of trauma, like that. Can you imagine? Like the world of Berserk probably feels like the world of your everyday fucking life. Like everything is out to get you. Like it's just out to crush you and tear you down. I'm sure a lot of people who have been through horrific trauma might like get that way and might feel that way. And watching someone like Guts still fight through it, still fight for that, that idea that he can defy fate, he can break free of everything that's put against him. It's empowering. Instead, this idiot looks at it, sees nasty images, has a small little peewee brain, and goes, "Oh, it's just fan service. This is all unnecessary." I'm like, God, what an idiotic fucking take. What an absolutely idiotic take. I know this is like blowing up, like they're getting murdered in fucking quote tweets and shit like that. But dude, I don't get, like, I really don't get what the point is of trashing people that like the manga because you have no fucking concept for it. Like, I don't talk to people about Berserk. Like, I don't go out there and tell them, oh man, there's this great manga you need to read, because one, it is incredibly dark. And it is something that I know that there are people that just they're not going to enjoy it because this series feels oppressive. Okay, like I talked about the Batman movie that came out with Robert Pattinson. I'm like, everything in that movie feels like super oppressive, like it's trying to bring you down. That's Berserk. That is Berserk, except times infinity, right? Like it's everywhere. But the story, the struggle, it makes it all worth it. It makes it all worth it, right? They everybody else that he encounters, right, succumbs to that fucking nasty evil shit. But Berserk doesn't. He still fights. He still finds a way through, even when things feel like they're just completely against him and maybe dying would just be better. He still keeps fucking pushing. And yes, there are people that rely on him now. And it's a good series. It's a great series. And, after the author, the creator for Berserk died, it became very sad because we want to see Guts. We want to see how Guts' journey ends. We want to see how things end for Guts. But his good friend and a man that's worked with him for a very long time is finishing the manga in his honor so that he can complete the story on his behalf. I I just I and you hear something like that, and for this like just like nasty little worm to come around and say, "Oh, they're just doing fan service torture porn. You just like it because you like seeing naked women shot to pieces." Like what? Like I just don't get why you got to shit on people like that. I really don't. Like, obviously, you have no fucking concept of this book. You have no idea the backstory for this book. You have no clue that the dude's friend, okay, best friends for fucking life, is finishing this series because it meant so fucking much, not because it's fucking torture fan service. It's just such a nasty fucking way of talking about this thing. And what's fucked up is, right? I only showed you one of the comments, but don't get me wrong, they have plenty of others that were just as fucking idiotic. But they go, the way Berserk's fandom proved how ugly and vulgar and shitty and toxic they can become from a simple opinion, prove what this manga did to their brains. So insecure. Y'all saying shitty in quote tweets ain't a flex the way a single and simple opinion pressed y'all. Damn. But of course, they've limited replies and they're still getting ratioed to fucking fuck. Like, what am I even supposed to say? Like, you obviously don't understand it. If you don't like it, just shut the fuck up about it, right? If you actually had a serious complaint about the manga, that would be different because there are things you could complain about with the story, right? I'm sure. I'm absolutely sure, right? Not for me. I think it's fucking perfect. But you know what? Like, people see things differently, sure. But to just shit on it, to call it like torture fan service, to spit all over what this man made after he's dead is just, I mean, it's just fucking weird. It's just so nasty. It's just so fucking vile. But that's it. It's never going to stop. And you know what? I do think the recent influx of manga. I was just talking about Vinland Saga there. But yeah, to see this person's also a fan of Demon Slayer just has me fucking laughing. Like die hard fucking laughing. Like, dude, not every story is cuddles and fucking rainbows. Not every story has happy endings. Some things just they don't work out. The world is not a pleasant place. If you can't handle that like reality, I don't know what to say. Like, I really don't know what to say. But I don't think Berserk is something that you should try reading. I don't think it's something where you need to like give it a second chance because Berserk is a story that is too mature for you. And you know what? As nasty as I'm willing to be to this person, I'm not actually saying that as an insult. Berserk is incredibly mature. Berserk requires you to actually take your head out of your ass, pay attention to what's being shown to you, and understand what the meaning behind it is. And I just feel like I feel very strongly about the series and about what was created here. Do I think do I think that means that if you don't like it, oh, you're a bad evil person? No, I can totally see why what like opening up the book and seeing a panel where like the demon army is like running down, like, well, no, it's like one guy, it's like one apostle, and then the rest of them are just like running around with severed up, chewed up women's bodies on spikes and shit. Yeah, I could see like why someone would read that and go like, "What the fuck?" and like close the book. I get that, I do, but at the same time, if that's you, then just don't read it. Don't read it. You don't need to formulate an opinion on everything. You don't need to shit on something you don't understand. Like, I don't know, man. I think it's just, I think it's fucked. I think it's wrong. But I'm a big fan of Berserk. And, you know, if you guys disagree, I would love to hear about it. You know, I got the chat running right now, but if you're watching the re-uploaded video, just leave a comment because I'm genuinely curious about your thoughts on like a fucking masterpiece of a series like Berserk.